This is TWiT.
So, I see here that the great Notepad wars have begun. What are you talking about?
It's important that we have a different controversy every week. This week we have at least 2 or 3. That's pretty good. I'm going to lead with the most important story of all, which is, of course, Notepad. So, so Notepad has been around since before Windows, right? People didn't know this at the time because no one paid attention to this stuff. But there was something called multi.
You say before Windows?
Yeah, Notepad started as a
Notepad?
DOS app. It was called Multi-Tool Notepad, I think was the name of it.
Wow.
Multi-Tool something. Some Write or Multi-Tool Write, something like that. And then that was going to be the name when Windows was happening. But then they said, well, we need something simpler than that. And it became Notepad. And Notepad has been in there ever since. So there have been a few notable updates to the app over the first, 30 years or so. It was redone for Unicode in Windows NT and made into a 32-bit app. There was some big stuff around Windows 2000 related to encoding formats and stuff. There was kind of a focus on IT pros and admins for a while. And then Linux, because of Linux and the subsystem, and before that, POSIX actually as well, but this kind of interoperability angle. Now developers, obviously, because with the Windows subsystem and terminal, you can do these kind of cross-platform things, and Notepad needs to be able to open those types of documents, etc. But when we got, I should say, a couple of minor UI things, very minor, over the years up until about Windows 10. So, Windows Vista, they did like a code refresh on Notepad that didn't really result in too much from an end-user perspective, et cetera. I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but Notepad is a plain text editor. It's something every OS has. It's not complicated, unless you try to write one, by the way, because I'll tell you, doing my Notepad knockoff, .NET very difficult. It's actually pretty complicated under the covers. And then we hit Windows 10. And so with Windows 10, they started changing things. They put it into the store, right? So they could update it more frequently, which probably set off some red flags in certain places. And then in Windows 11, they really amped it up. So I'm not going to go through every change they've made, but there have been a ton. And they first modernized it for the Windows 11 look and feel, which honestly, they've done a terrific job with. Paint was a 2-year nightmare where they screwed that up completely, and then it took them a long time to get it right. But
is it okay now? Is it?
Yep, it's fine. I can't say it's perfect, but it's fine. The big things there were they added something that looked like a ribbon but wasn't, and you couldn't collapse it. And it's humongous. That's still the case today, by the way. So it takes up a lot of UI space, but it was also only light mode when they first shipped it. And so you'd have a dark mode thing, and it was like like a spotlight on your screen. If you ever opened it by mistake or on purpose, it was terrible. So and that's fine. They also screwed up all the keyboard shortcuts, which was horrible for people like me that use the app all the time. But they got there. That's in good shape. But Notepad has never not been in good shape. They've always done right by Notepad, right? And so first they did the UI refresh. They put a WinUI front end on this thing must still have code in it from 1993. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I'm sure it does.
A classic C Sharp app from a million years ago. It's legacy code. There is text encoding formats that nobody knows how they work, and Notepad does them seamlessly. And there are people at Microsoft who have looked at the code and said, we don't actually know how they do this. Like, it's astonishing.
We have no idea.
Yep, they're like, can't figure this out. They basically just take guesses. Like sometimes they'll be like, well, if this character's in this position, try this, and if it works, fine. If it doesn't, do this. That kind of thing. So in recent years, I'd say the last 2 years, the big updates to Notepad have involved functional things. They've added things like that recent submenu in the file menu, so you have all your recent apps or recent documents. Okay, cool. They've added, the tabs and the new settings UI, all that stuff, new ways to do things like fonts and all that stuff. Good. But also the AI stuff. And so you see these Copilot features in there for rewriting, drafting, make it shorter, make it longer. One of the funnest features in Notepad today, I think this might require Copilot Plus PC, is you can open a document and it will rewrite it as a poem. It's amazing. It's useless, but it is amazing. And of course, because of the era we're in now, people who would watch the show, people who read my site, people like me, might look at this, and I should say almost always do, and say, no, this is too much. Leave it alone. Like, why are you touching this? And it's a text editor. Why would you bulk it up with features? Why would you bloat it? Why would you do whatever? But the thing is, watching this happen, and because I use Notepad so frequently, I actually think they've been very respectful to the app and to its users. So if you don't like these features, anything I mentioned, anything I forgot, you can turn them off. Like, you can just ignore them. It doesn't actually get in your way. So if you don't want AI, turn it off. It's a switch. You can do that. If you don't like spell checking, turn it off. If you don't like using different tabs, you want to use different windows, there's an option in there for that. Like, you can make it work the way you want. So this, to me, does not meet the bar of enshittification, right? Which there are different ways to kind of define that. But actually, I wrote one in this that I thought was decent. So I said, enshittification occurs when a company changes a product or service to benefit itself strategically, financially, or whatever, while knowing full well that this change will harm users, right? So you can think of things like Microsoft or Windows 11 saying, hey, would you like to turn on folder backup? It's super useful. You would love it. And I'm like, nope, don't want to do that. And it's like, but you should really turn it on. It's great. I'm like, yeah, no, I hear you. I don't want it. And then you reboot your computer and it's just turned on and stuff starts syncing between computers. And you're like, I literally told you not to do that. That's enshittification, right? That's Microsoft wants you to do this so bad that they will just ignore your explicit wish and do it anyway. And there's stuff in Windows 11 like around telemetry, the crapware, the constant feature updates, the forced Microsoft account usage, blah, 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 whatever, that you could argue is enshittification. But there's a big difference between Microsoft, in this case, improving an app and you just not liking it, and enshittification, right? You could say, well, yeah, but the Copilot stuff is kind of pushing their AI aims and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, it is. But like I said, you can turn it off. You don't have to have it. More to the point, I think the real reason for that stuff is to show off what is possible, right? These apps are in some ways a showcase for developers where they can say, look, if Notepad can do this, I mean, I could put this in my app, One of the big things that they did at Build this a couple of weeks ago now was show how easy it is, how few lines of code you need to add to an app to add AI rewriting features, right? And I've done this myself back in January, February. I wrote a real stupid, simple app just to show that stuff off. It's really not that hard. So I think that's the point, right? And so I guess I've gone against the grain on this one with a lot of people because I just watch people react in outrage every time Microsoft announces any new feature in Notepad. It's been just,
they don't want it to change.
They don't want anything to change. This is a big problem with the community these days. I think it's like, we're all old enough now. It's like, stop changing things. And it's like, guys, just because you've calcified, like, doesn't mean the rest of the planet has. I mean, things evolve, and look,
but historically, Notepad's been the like plain text editor, right?
Yep, it still is. Still is.
Okay, so you're not losing that.
This is not changed.
It's still writing TXT files, not RTF files like WordPad.
That's right. It doesn't do RTF. It's not anything like. It's still plain text. Okay. And that's the thing. Like, one thing I've used Notepad for a lot over the years, and now I usually use different methods, but people have said this to me as well, is you get some kind of formatted document of some kind. You just want the plain text version, pump it into Notepad, it strips everything out, copy, paste it back. Plain text, right? It still works great for that. Like, that has not changed. So been kind of weathering this. As it goes along, as they add features, I'm like, this stuff's fine. Like it's fine. Like, like I said, I use it every day. I love Notepad, and I love it so much I'm still trying to copy it. Like, I spend a lot of my time on
you
this.
Have your own.
It's so stupid how much time I spend on this. So this past week, a couple of days ago, Microsoft announced that they were providing another update to the Notepad app. It's in the Dev and Canary channels in the Windows Insider program. Microsoft, it's they don't always do a great job of explaining things like this. And I feel like this is something that should have come from maybe the developer group or whatever it is, the platform or something, to explain why they're doing this, because they still haven't. I have a theory, which I'll share, but what they announced was they were adding support for lightweight text formatting to Notepad. Now, I want you to imagine the sound of a rocket ship crashing into the earth, because that's what happened in my world. The whole world lost their minds.
I kind of understand that.
Well, because because when you hear that, you think of the wrong thing.
Right.
Like what you thought I just said was they're going to support rich text. And that's not what they're doing.
Right.
It's not rich text. They're not supporting RTF.
But how can you support fonts without in plain text files? I don't understand.
You support Markdown.
Oh, it's going to be a Markdown editor.
Yep. So,
Okay.
well, I should
But
say
fonts-
it's not
Markdown
going to be a
doesn't have
Markdown
fonts.
editor, although you could use it like that, I guess. I've not seen it. I literally have 3, if not 4 computers on the dev channel that I could get this on. And to this moment, I've not seen it in person yet. You know, they roll out over time. But it's still, so for Markdown, for those who don't know, is plain text. It's a Markdown language, I guess, similar to HTML or XML, right? It is lightweight. It's designed to be both machine and human readable, meaning that a document that was formatted with tags for Markdown, where you use hashes and, brackets and things, is still you can still read it. You look at it like, yeah, no, I can read this. It's not all, gobbledygook or whatever. It's not like programming code, like a C programming language thing or something. It's readable.
Yeah.
So plain text always will work everywhere. No problem there. There are lightweight Markdown. I'm going to call them like sort of word processors. I use something called Typora that does this.
Yeah.
Where you can, and a lot of like programmer type editors will do a side-by-side view where you write in the code, which is plain text, and they show you a preview of what is really an HTML view of the formatted document, right? But the document itself is plain text. It's just as small as any text document. There's nothing special going on. It's just the language itself, Markdown. So it's not changing to Markdown format by default. It's not going to show you an HTML view of the document. It's plain text. That's all it is. So why would they do this? Is it to confuse people? Is it to, replace WordPad? This is one of the big, that's why they obsoleted WordPad. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. WordPad was a security disaster waiting to happen. They got rid of that more slowly than they should have. Markdown is the language, so to speak, the format, the style that is used by almost all developer documentation now. So if you go up to like GitHub, for example, and you look at a README file for a project, that's Markdown. And it renders in HTML, right? HTML, whatever they use in the back end can render that thing so it looks like HTML, or it is HTML, right? I use Markdown to write my books. I use Markdown to write every article I write on the website. I use Markdown every single day, all day long. Like, I love Markdown. And there's nothing wrong with Markdown. It's just plain text. It's not rich text. It's nothing. But people see this. And of course, Microsoft, they're trying to make it friendly that when you're using a Markdown document, or if you start typing code that could be translated into Markdown, like you type hash space, whatever, that becomes a heading 1. It pops up a toolbar with heading, bullet lists, bold, italic, buttons. So normal people can select text and make a link or make it bold or whatever. So people see this picture and they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? So I wrote this article explaining what they were doing because Microsoft didn't explain it. And like I said, I have my guess about why. I think it's for developers. Like if you think about like all the stuff that's going on with developers in Windows 11 and all the changes over the past couple of years. This makes plenty of sense. I'm actually psyched to doing this. It would be kind of amazing to me if I could actually use Notepad to write lightly formatted documents, right, in Markdown format and not have to install another app, right? Now, that's probably not true because the way it is right now, it's just going to be pure code based. And I actually do want to see the formatted view. But one of the things I do now is, Typora, the app I use typically for the website, is it supports a keyboard, a shortcut for copying, pasting into basically non-formatted HTML. So it's perfectly clean HTML, no extra, nothing in there. It's wonderful. I love it. Notepad's not going to do that. Maybe someday it will. I hope so. No one else does, but I do.
Typora is a great way to write because it's so clean.
Yeah,
it's so clean.
Yep.
There's no ribbon. There's nothing.
I know. I love it. And if I was using a Mac, the IA writer is an even better choice.
That's a good one. Yes.
God, it's such a good app. But it's not as good on Windows.
That's why I use Obsidian, because I can write Markdown.
Yes. And by the way, Notion too is is good.
Yeah,
You know,
Notion uses Markdown. That's right.
Notion supports Markdown syntax. Yeah. You can already write in Google Docs in Markdown syntax. It doesn't save it as a Markdown file, although you can export to Markdown. But if you know Markdown,
everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. That's the point. It's literally everywhere. In fact, you might argue that Notepad is a little late to the game in a way. It is a text format. Microsoft does want developers to use Windows. It is, a piece of that puzzle where it just works. So to me, this makes total sense. But man, I have never, well, I have actually, but I have rarely seen like this community just lose their minds collectively all at once in such a dramatic fashion. And most of them just misunderstood what was happening. I'm not here to dump on Mary Jo Foley, but I'm going to. So
does she freak out? Because I know she's
yes.
a massive Notepad user.
Yep. I posted this. You know what? I feel like I probably use it more than she does, but it's fine. It's fine.
Well, that's all she writes.
I'm not going to actually dump on her. I'm kidding. But she did text me, I swear to God, like 2 seconds after I published this. And she goes, I just read this part. I swear to God, we were texting back and forth like half an hour after this. She has 2 comments. Like, this is not going to go well. I'm not going to read this word for word, but the attraction of Notepad is as simple and distraction free. And if I want writing advice, I'll use Word, OneNote, or Loop. Like, okay. So, I mean, this is sort of the stuff I addressed in the thing. And again, Mary Jo is very typical of the argument against this, which is like, well, first of all, this stuff actually doesn't get in the way. It has never, it's never bulked up or bloated or destroyed the UI. Like the app has only gotten better and has only looked better in the last couple of years. Like it's way better than it's ever been. And I don't get to say that a lot about Microsoft. I kind of want to revel in this a little bit. Like Windows 11, which in some ways is like this cesspool of terribleness. This one thing, it's not the only thing, but this one thing, they've really gotten it right the whole time. And when people start like complaining about it, I'm like, oh guys, come on. We've talked about this. There's a lot to complain about. Let's focus on the stuff that we should complain about. This is not one of them. I mean, it just isn't. So anyway, the thing with Mary Jo was funny, but I don't know why I didn't anticipate it. I feel like I should have given her a trigger warning or something, but yeah, so we went through that yesterday. That was amusing, but there's no reason to use a different, I would never install like a third-party text editor in Windows for normal texting. As if you're a developer or whatever, obviously there are reasons, but this thing works great, it looks great, and I can't wait to try this. In fact, I feel like I'm going to find it a little lacking. Like I want it to go further. And we'll see what happens in the future. But anyway, that was the controversy I woke up to on Monday morning. It's like, here we go.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm like, everything's finally calmed down. I've gotten over build. Everything's good. And it's like, okay.
Well, all right. You've reassured us all. So maybe
I'm sure some people still disagree. I can't.
Well, I can understand people saying, a program, there ought to be a very simple, pure text editing program in Windows.
There is. It's called Notepad.
They don't do they don't do WordPad anymore, right? They discontinued that.
What's that?
They don't do WordPad anymore, right?
Yeah. So yeah, WordPad was always kind of an oddball. So going
it's like
back
mini
to
Word.
Yeah, in the beginning there was the text editor Notepad and the rich text editor Write. Remember from the early Windows 3
right.
days,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So Write evolved into WordPad, and then there was also like a separate project that turned into the word processor that was in Works, which was also not Word compatible, right? But over time, WordPad, like Notepad, evolved in its own way, and so it became compatible with Word because of the antitrust concerns around the open open document formats in the early 2000s. Microsoft open sourced that stuff and then made this thing part of Windows that was compatible as well, which is why it's compatible with Word documents, right? So today we have a web-based version of Word that does that. But the last major update to WordPad was for Windows 7 when they were promoting the ribbon to developers as what was it called? The scenic ribbon. And there was something you as a developer could add to your own app. I've tried this, by the way. That was horrific, but you could do it if you didn't mind writing a million lines of XAML code, and you could construct a ribbon that was a rough approximation of something you might see in Office or whatever, right? The apps that would have the ribbon. So they added the ribbon UI to WordPad, which I think bloated it up, frankly, because it was very simple before that, and then never updated it again in a meaningful way. So it's been sitting in Windows for years. It's a security vulnerability. This is a way people can get a Word document onto your computer that has a virus in it that can run, and it just wasn't worth updating. So they eventually deprecated and removed it. It's actually been gone from Windows 11, I think, for almost 2 years now, but at least a year and a half. The world has kept turning around the sun. We're okay. It's okay. Yeah. So no matter what it is, no matter how little used something is, someone will always mourn it and then bring it up every time something else disappears. Oh, I knew this company was screwed when they killed the Zune, or whatever. There's always like the one person who's like, oh, I love that thing. And it's like, yeah, but
there's still your .NET Pad. There's Notepad++.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
The Mac has an editor called TextEdit, but it's by default an RTF editor.
It does both. That's right.
It is not really a good pure text editor.
Yeah.
So most Mac people actually buy or BBEdit or use
BBEdit back
the
in
free version of Text Wrangler, and they're happy. Because I think it's reasonable to say you kind of, if you do any coding or website development or anything, you kind of need something that's not going to add any.
Yeah, no, you need WordPad's good for that, by the way. But Microsoft has Visual Studio Code, which is cross-platform, which, by the way, supports Markdown. And you can, I have, and I do for the books, add extensions that do things like spell checking and grammar checking and Markdown syntax checking and whatever. And that's the beauty of Visual Studio Code, right? So, I'm trying to understand the cross-section of the world that is technical enough that they understand everything I just said and are outraged by Notepad, but don't have a developer editor of some kind, of which there are a million free versions. Like it's like, what do you? I don't even understand.
VS Code is another good choice for just plain text editing.
Yeah, that's right.
Think of it.
Yep.
Hey, it's me, Leo Laporte. I hope you've enjoyed this little snippet from Windows Weekly. If you want to see more, want to catch the whole show, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client or visit our website, twit.tv/WW. And of course, there's links right below me.